Hi, Ruth.
Hello, how are you?
Good. You?
I'm well, thank you. I was having so much fun on Wisdom that I almost didn't get over here. Hi, Tanya. I guess you don't have your microphone yet.
Hi, Tanya.
Hi.
Hi.
I just had to go live. I made a mistake of like updating my all my equipment because Apple updated and it took forever. So sorry about the delay. I didn't know there was like such an update going on.
Let me know when you're ready for me to open the space, Tanya.
We're live now. We're all set.
Well, I want to welcome everyone to Inspirational Interviews Episode 3. And Inspirational Interviews is one of the shows that Tanya sponsors where I bring on an inspirational guest that I've met in various social audio spaces, or by finding them on Twitter Spaces. And today I have the pleasure of welcoming Ruth to my show.
Thank you, Brent. It's great to be here.
Today's topic will be about parenting children with special needs. Ruth, can you let our listeners know a little bit about yourself?
Certainly, yes. I have the privilege of being a mom to 5 individuals who all have some level of special needs. So, my oldest daughter is 25 now, and she is married and has 2 children of her own. And she struggles a bit with fetal alcohol effect. Um, and so basically, what that means is that some of the decision making and memory is harder for her than it is for other people. And then I have twin boys who are going to be 22 next month, and they have global developmental disabilities. They also have a genetic anomaly, which doesn't have a name, but they have an extra strand on their 15th chromosome. And that when they were diagnosed, there were only 10 case studies in all of North America. So we didn't know a lot about what that would mean, but they have definitely done more than their first pediatrician thought they would do when he saw them. They were born at 27 weeks gestation. And when he saw them, he said that they would likely never walk, talk, or feed themselves. Well, they are doing all of that and much more. So I'm very grateful. And then I have a 19-year-old son who is living independently but still needs a lot of support. So I check in on him every day by phone and give him rides to appointments and that kind of thing. And then I have a 14-year-old daughter who has mild to severe hearing loss on both sides and wears hearing aids. And she's also very nearsighted. She can only see like a few inches in front of her face if she doesn't have her glasses on. But she does very well. She is in doing all the normal subjects in school and doing quite well. She struggles with some anxiety and finds social situations difficult, but otherwise she's doing very well. And all of my kids are adopted, so I got to meet them at different ages. We met our oldest when she was 8.5 months old. We met our twins when they were 18 months old. And our 19-year-old son, we met when he was 2.5. And then our youngest daughter, we decided to become what we call foster to adopt parents so that we could go right to the hospital and pick her up when she was 2 weeks old. So that's a brief overview of my kiddos.
So the first question I have for you, since I know that you're a writer and a creator, has being a writer and a creator inspired uh inspired you because you are a parent of children with special needs.
So my kids have been an inspiration for my writing. Yes, I think that's what you're asking me. When I so I've always enjoyed doing creative things, and reading and writing have been things that I've enjoyed from a young age. I grew up in southern Africa where my parents were missionaries. So I met all of my relatives through reading and writing letters. But I didn't really take my writing seriously, and I'm not one of those people that always wanted to be a writer. I enjoyed using my writing skills. I was on the yearbook committee in school. I helped with the school newsletter, and I did things like that. I did work in a bookstore after I graduated from college, and I really enjoyed that work. But again, I never thought I would be a writer. My mom actually encouraged me to take, there was the Institute of Children's Literature in Connecticut. The way they find clients is that they have a writing test that you take. And so she encouraged me to take that. And of course, when I submitted it, they said, "Oh, you're a really good candidate." And so I did take some courses from them. But it wasn't until after we had adopted the 5 children, and I thought that some of their story needed to be shared, and especially our story of infertility and going into the world of adoption and special needs, that I entered a writing contest. And so I chose to write about our journey of adopting the twins specifically. And I won first place in that contest. And that was what kind of kicked off my getting serious about being a writer and making sure that I shared more stories.
So when did you first get the inspiration to become a creator within Twitter or the social audio space?
So my Twitter story actually starts fairly close to the time when I became a professional writer, I guess. When I went to that writing conference, so when I won the writing contest, the prize was a free registration at a writing conference. And so I flew from Alberta, where I live, to Ontario, and I walked into this writing conference knowing that I had won the contest, but also knowing that there were many people at the conference who were published. They had books written, and I had just written this short piece that telling my story, and I wasn't sure I belonged there. But it was during that conference that when people read my piece and told me that it was well written and that I had talent and that I needed to hone that talent and continue to write, I I was like, okay, but I have 5 kids and they're young, ages 1 to 11, and I'm also on the local school board, so I don't have spare time. So how am I going to fit writing into my schedule? And so one of the other writers that was at the conference suggested that I use Twitter as my microblog. So that was how I started on Twitter, and I made sure that I wrote every day. Twitter taught me a lot about writing, actually. It taught me how to communicate clearly and concisely, and it also taught me to be consistent. And so that's how I got my start on Twitter. And then um, I was faithful on Twitter for quite a few years, and it helped me market my first books. And I actually did some really good work with the school board through Twitter. But then when I saw the way some politicians were using Twitter, it kind of turned me off. And so I wasn't on Twitter every day like I had been. And then last November, I came back on and I ran into Keith Keller, who some of you know, and he told me about social audio and invited me to come on to his space. And I was hooked. I mean, as a creative, having the opportunity to actually speak to people and ask them what they thought about what I was working on and have them tell me and carry on conversations, that was it's been amazing, and I have loved being on Twitter Spaces and having those connections and building that community. So yes, Twitter has been a great addition to my tools as a creator.
So when you started your creator journey, what was the first platform you used to build your creator journey?
What was the first platform? Hmm. Well, probably the first platform that I used, I talked a little bit about Twitter already. So I used Twitter to build my audience when so um I thought maybe my first book would be a devotional book because I read the Bible and pray, and I thought maybe that's what I would write about. But it ended up, when people saw how I was using Twitter and how effective I was at using it, other authors asked me to write a book to teach them how to use Twitter effectively without wasting all day on, on the platform. So that was my first book, Learn Twitter. And then after that, probably my blog was the second platform on WordPress. And then probably the next one was Facebook. And I started using Facebook more as a way to keep in contact because my parents are both American citizens. I was born in Michigan, but I've only lived in the States for a couple of years, and I live in Canada now. So Facebook was more of a way for me to stay in contact with relatives all over the world. But now I'm using it more as a creator, having a Facebook page and using some of the advertising and those options. So I would say those are probably the first platforms that I used as a creator.
When did you decide to, if you did, when did you decide to build a YouTube channel and have a and like create videos on YouTube?
So yes, I do have a YouTube channel, and I just feel like I'm dipping my toes in and learning. I have a long ways to go. I did that. I took a course in November that was taught by Ken Dunn, and he showed how to use, I guess, to create content in a way that would be meaningful and help build up a business. And so, what he taught was to put out. Um, he suggested 3 10-minute videos a week. I chose to do 2 10-minute videos because my time is limited. And then I was able to work with a virtual assistant, and she helped me. So I would create the videos. I gave her an intro and an outro and told her what my call to action should be. And then she would edit the video and put it up on YouTube for me. And so I started on YouTube in January. And then at the same time, I would she would also take the audio off of the YouTube and create a podcast out of that. So I started YouTube and podcasting at the same time. And I did have my virtual assistant working with me for about 5 months. And then I I just couldn't afford her anymore. And so now I'm doing all of it on my own. So what I do is I create my videos, I put them up onto YouTube, I put the audio on as a podcast, and then I take quotes from that content and create memes and use that for my social media. So that's basically what I do every week. And sometimes I do more with the content, and sometimes I don't have as much time. So I just make them into videos and podcasts and advertise that content on my other social media sites.
Can can you explain your or weekly or monthly Twitter Spaces show?
Yes, for sure. So Keith and I actually co-hosted a show for from January until the end of June, and it was called "Using Twitter Spaces to Build Community." And what we did was we interviewed a different person every week and just had wonderful conversations about what it meant, like what is community, how do we build it, how do we collaborate, how do we use Twitter Spaces as creators, all kinds of things that we talked about. And so we did that every Wednesday starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then I was talking to Keith and I said, I think that because I am a creator and an author, I would like to kind of change what I'm doing, still kind of along the themes of building community, but more focused on entrepreneurship and being an author. And so I still interview a different person every week and um, talk to them. But I am focusing more on Um, so the subtitle of my space is From Struggle to Strength, Choices from Struggle to Strength. And I find that most entrepreneurs and authors have a story, a backstory that they don't always share. Often we go through difficult times, and those difficult times launch us into being a creative or being an author or being an entrepreneur. And sometimes we go through really difficult times. It could be, I've talked to somebody that went through mental illness and considered taking his life. I talked to another person who had a death in their family that really affected them. I talked to another person, actually, this week's guest talks about how she had basically she burned out because she was so busy and she didn't take time for self-care. So, those are hard things that happen to people. And usually, when there is a hard thing, well, always when there's a hard thing, we have a choice to make. Are we going to let that hard thing destroy us? Or are we going to use that as a building block and come back stronger and use that pain and those experiences to help other people? And so that's been a really powerful space that I have every week. And sometimes there's not a lot of people in, like sometimes there's only 15 or 20 people in the space, but we have very deep conversations about difficult times in life and how that can help us grow as a person. And it can also launch our creativity and writing and maybe even a business.
So, would you consider yourself a live streamer or just a creator, Ruth?
Um, I don't know. I've never thought of using a live stream as a title, but before I started doing my YouTube channel, I did Facebook Lives every week for over a year. So I am quite comfortable live streaming. I tend to like discussion more than just talking. So maybe that's why I don't call myself a live streamer. I call myself a creator instead.
So
So what?
go ahead. I'm just letting you know I'm sharing some links in the speech bubble.
So being an author, does being an author get you has being has was the author journey easy or hard?
Well, I don't know many authors that would say that being an author is an easy journey. Yes, there are things that are very enjoyable about being an author. Being an author is something that a lot of people aspire to, but it's interesting. I was talking to a fellow author the other day who has been coaching me the last year, and he was laughing. He said, "You know, people think that writing a book is the hardest thing they'll ever do in their lives." And writing is hard, but publishing, getting your book published is also hard. And then once your book is published, you also have to be prepared to market your book. You know, the old days when if you got a traditional publishing contract, the publisher would do a lot of the marketing for the author. Those days are gone. Even if you do get a traditional contract now, they expect you to do 90% of the marketing. They will help you with the initial month or two of getting your book launched, but after that, it's your baby. So, no, being an author is not easy. Does that mean that we shouldn't do it? No, because it is enjoyable. I love the opportunity to use words and think about how best to describe a scene. I love the opportunity to share information and inspire other people. I love the opportunity to get to know people that I would never meet otherwise. And so there are many things that I love about being an author, even though it's not easy.
Does your Twitter book just help uh, authors specifically, or does it help, or will it help everyone who uses Twitter?
So I did write Learn Twitter specifically for authors, but it will help anybody because the first, so I wrote two short ebooks and then I combined them and put them into Twitter Decoded, which is um, available as an ebook or a paperback, because I had author friends that were saying, "Ugh, I don't want to be using it as an ebook. Give me a paperback." And so I started right with the beginning steps of how to open a Twitter account and what lists are and what hashtags are and how to find what works and how to get followers and all of the basics. So all of that will work for anybody. Some of the marketing ideas are specific to authors, but again, you can take the ideas that I share and use them for marketing whatever you're selling, even if it's not a book.
So now that you've embraced social audio, what do you see next for the creator journey on your side, Ruth?
Well, I am still exploring social. So Alessandra White and I have been exploring different social audio sites. We've taken a break over the last few weeks, but we did Wisdom together. We did Clubhouse together, and I found out about Club Deck, which is wonderful. It's not. It wasn't created by Clubhouse, but it's a desktop app that allows you to be on Clubhouse. And I have a microphone that I use for my podcasting, and I can use that, plug it right into my computer and use that on Club Deck. So I love that. And wisdom, I've just started about 2 months ago, really being serious and consistent on there. So I'm still exploring that. We're going to try Spotify Live, and Keith Keller and I are also talking about doing some events on LinkedIn Live. So I feel like I'm just still exploring social audio in many ways. I have also been invited into exploring the world of Web3, and that is a whole new world that I feel like I am just barely dipping my toes in. I joined um, Snyder's on S&C and Peak D, and um, those are basically blogging platforms, so really good for writers. But I'm finding that my time is limited, and so I haven't done a lot consistently on there. And of course, Web3 has so many different things that you can do. You can there's You can do social audio on there as well. You can also do, of course, NFTs. And I don't know, there's probably other things that you can do on there that I don't even know about yet. So maybe Web3 will be my next area to explore.
Do you have any questions for Ruth, Tonya?
Yeah, I was actually we did a space. I was one of the speakers, and actually I live streamed it, and we have 1,165 views on my YouTube channel. It's called "How to Build Global Communities in 2022 Using Twitter." I posted in our speech bubble. Um, so Ruth, tell us, like, how do you know that aspect of your caregiving? I mean, I knew you were an author. I knew you were an entrepreneur. I knew you were a trainer. You were a motivator, an innovator. But when I was creating the live stream link, I did not know the fact that you adopted five special needs babies. If you think about it, and th- how what inspired you to do that? I mean, it's not too many people, especially women, in the world. And then also, I was looking at you actually lived in South Africa. Is that what it says over here? I think I just was looking at this with
So
your parents.
yes, I did live in South Africa. So I was born in Michigan, and when I was 6 weeks old, I was born in Michigan because my parents were waiting for their visas to go to South Africa. And then when I was 6 weeks old, they had their visas. So I had my first airplane ride when I was 6 weeks old. And we spent 6 years in South Africa. Beautiful, beautiful country. And then my dad was a printer. And one day when he was in the print shop, a fellow came in. He was working in the local gold mine, and he came in and said, "I need somebody to come to my country and tell my people about God." And so then my parents moved our family to Botswana, which is right next door to South Africa. And we lived there for 4 years. And during that time, I also attended school in Zimbabwe for 1 year.
Wow. And so you got married, you went on to adopted the five wonderful children that you have now. But because I have friends who have special needs children, and they're all like, I actually had three interns that they were, to me, I didn't think anything wrong with them, but they were artistic. And to me, I always felt that children who are autistic, they just have a different way of communicating. You just got to find the vibration. So, and then you find what they love to do, and then they get inspired. And that's like that for every children. You just got to find the way to communicate, and then find a way for them to enjoy what they're doing. So did you look at that? Look, having to experience that with five, and you adopted them so young. Did you ever feel like overwhelmed? Because you know how women are. We always felt that we need to do everything. We got to go make the money. Then we got to make sure the dinner made. We got to make sure the kids are fed and clean and clothed. Did you ever feel that need to say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this"?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I still say every day is a new adventure. There are still days when I feel overwhelmed because um, my twins are 22, well, will be 22 in October, and they are still finding their way. And I mean, it's difficult for every person to go from high school to figuring out whether they're going to college or not, and then finding the path that they want for their life. But when you add in special needs, it's even more complicated. So yeah, we have some challenging days, but I guess one of the reasons, so we adopted our oldest daughter, and then we didn't want her to be an only child. So then we decided we wanted to adopt again. And that's when we were matched with the twins. And before we even met the twins, then our social worker said, "Oh, by the way, the twins' mom had another baby. Would you be interested in adopting him?" So then we decided yes, we would adopt him as well. And then we he was, let's see, so Jason is 20 now. He just turned 20, and Dorothy's 14. So we thought our family was complete for quite a few years, and then we got another phone call that there was a sister in the same family that needed a home, and we were asked if we would adopt her. So the four younger children are all related by birth, and that's, I mean, when you've adopted three, it seems kind of logical that you would adopt the sibling as well. So, and we're very happy that we did.
That's incredible. I think that's, I mean, bravo to both you and your husband. I think that's incredible because now, when they have each other, that's the most important part. So I myself personally, I'm still looking. I got half siblings. I know I got five more like to find, but I found like my siblings I've never met them, but oh no, one of them I've met. No, actually, the other one I met too. I found them on Facebook. So, and I didn't, and I'm from Vietnam, so, and they're from Vietnam too, so it's kind of crazy that we're all in America, and I found them on Facebook. But so, and I felt completed. I felt completed, even though I have my siblings. I come from a pretty good sized family, but I have my siblings. But finding my other half siblings, it was just it was so important to me. I don't know why, but I just felt like when I discovered I had siblings, I needed to know what they were doing, who they were, what they looked like, do they look like me? And so for you to do that, that's fantastic. I think that's so great. And you're hosting that your spaces and you're cutting up content, but do you find today's content creation, is it much more simpler compared to, let's say, before the pandemic, let's say 3 years ago, 4 years ago, how the content has changed? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say there seems to be more creators that are sharing content. And I think the thing that has changed is when I first started writing, there was an expectation that you wouldn't share anything unless it was professional, like top of the line, uh, that kind of thing. And now I find that people are way more open to creators learning as they go. So I guess that has changed. And there seem to be a lot more tools now that make creating content easier. So, in a way, it's easier, but it's also easier to get so busy creating content that you lose your way. And I sat down a few months ago and said, okay, I feel like I'm just creating all this content, but why am I creating all this content? What is the purpose behind it? And what themes do I really want to focus on? Yes, I'm an author and I'm a creator and I coach other authors. So how can I be more intentional about what I share? How can I make it really valuable? Because we live in a very, very busy world. And so if I'm not intentional about what I'm sharing, then it's just adding to the noise instead of helping people. So that's made me stop and be more intentional. I can get lost in just, I love creating, I love coming up with new ideas, but I also want it to be helpful. I want it to have purpose.
I think Lynn also did a question. I just saw it. I'm like I'm actually like looking through the internet and just posting all these. I'm posting a video called Marketing Minute: How Using a Simple Tool Has Helped Ruth L. Snyder in marketing her books. It was from Shelly Hiss. I'm just looking for her Twitter handle so I can like tag her on it. But I was just looking at that too. That's a great tool too. And so I wanted to let me go ahead and post this real quick. And there we go.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm actually speaking at a virtual conference with Shelly Hitz this week.
Yeah, I noticed, because of Twitter is like because living in South Florida, I'm so used to working local. Everything's local, 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 and it seems like being on Twitter, it has become a global. I mean, local became global, and so what are your thoughts on that? Now that you like, I've literally like you're part of the space host. We're like a little community within the community within the community, and we all have our own little community. That's the cool part about this. Like, we're all space hosts. We're all part of a community, but then we all have our own little community within the little community within the little community. So, what are your thoughts on that as far as the connection that you built, and you can't just say, "Hey, I only hang out with people in Canada," but now you have people from all over the world. I mean, Keith is in Australia. I'm going to be on his space. We're doing a space together, multi streaming, September 26th. So what are your thoughts on creating, these type of friendship compared to how it was before the lockdown? And were you doing any networking before the lockdown as far as going out, going to meetups, different events?
So I was doing some, and I think because I spent my early years in Africa, I've always been interested in connecting with people from all over the world. But there's definitely been an increase in networking and connecting and collaborating around global communication and global creating and global communities. Eh, and the pandemic, that's one of the benefits that the pandemic has given to us. It robbed us of many things, but it also gave us gifts. And so if we can focus on those gifts, we can move forward. And yes, it definitely, I love the global aspect of Twitter. That's one of the things about Twitter Spaces that just, like I said, it drew me in. And I was like, wow, I can pick up my phone and I can talk to people in Australia and Africa and England and Ireland the same time, the same night. And I can get their feedback and I can be educated about their culture and their customs and their way of thinking because it's all and I love it. It's an amazing time to be a creator.
I don't know about you, but I remember those long distance phone bills. 'Cause
Yes.
I
Yes,
remember those
they're
long. I mean, I
crazy.
remember. Yeah, right. I mean, I was married to a Navy guy in the late '80s to like the early '90s, and it was just I just remember when he would go on his it was they call it the Westpac. So when he called me from say Germany, it was like crazy how expensive the phone bill. There were thousands of dollars how much we spent, and now today it's just the fact that we can just get on an app and it didn't cost us anything and sit and talk to our friends from all over the world. Some people be going to sleep, some people would be waking up, some people just having lunch. Those are the kind of connection you would never thought that could happen today, and now here we are in 2022. It's a normal thing. I'm like, even my hubby's like, who are you talking to? And he knows every single person he knows every single person because he listens to me and I tell him each person. It's kind of like he's my, because we literally like where we live. I never left my development, so he was the only real person I saw. Even my friends didn't even see me. I would talk to them, but I'm always like, they're like, well, the only way we can find you is we go on Twitter. Because I stopped going to Twitter, but so because I live on Twitter Spaces, but then I'm not. I used to live on Facebook, but then Facebook to me is just it's where I've seen my family, my people that I've seen before, and I'm being the president of Women Communication, that's where a lot of our members. But I find Twitter with the social audio aspect of it, it's just such a connection. I noticed you had mentioned that you're trying a different platform. Have you tried Fireside? Is it called Fire? Something? Hold on. Fireside.
It's called Fireside. I
Yeah,
have
have you tried
not.
it?
No, I haven't. That's one that I want to try and just see. Um, but again, my time is limited, so I'm trying to be intentional about where I go and what I do. But I know Graciela is one of the ones that's very active on Fireside, and so I'm going to try it. It's worth trying once to see what it's like.
I was like, I got approved. I went through the whole process and everything. I call myself a live streamer because I am I am like a hardcore live streamer. Because I literally live stream of everything. And I think my life is live streaming. It's all on Facebook. I always tell people, if you want to know what's going on, go to Facebook. Now I'm mostly on Twitter, but Fireside is I really haven't been on it, and I think somebody I knew was on it and I just popped in. They had to upgrade it a lot. Now you can do video at the same time if you want to. But I think my next big thing, because since you were mentioning Web3, and I'm very much, and Jennifer, as a podcaster, she's like the queen of I mean, she besides being the queen of podcasting, she is the queen of Web3. So I would like, I'm like looking at more at like the metaverse and the VR, and I'm more excited about the AR. VR is, but AR and so metaverse. I feel that that's the next thing. People will be going there, hosting their own, podcast and talking to each other and interviewing each other. Do you see yourself doing something like that one day?
Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. I think like wisdom is kind of halfway there, because I don't know if you're familiar with wisdom at all, but you are granted mentor coins for every talk that you do. And I was given top mentor status, invited to be a mentor on wisdom. And so every time I interact with people on wisdom, I'm granted mentor coins. And um, then I can exchange those mentor coins for Amazon gift cards. So it's kind of stepping towards Web3, not really, not completely, but that idea. So I don't know.
They're
I'm
tokenizing it. I know about it, but I just never just like I'm like I go in like a lion, then I'll just leave like a sheep if I don't. And so that's always been my problem. So, but I heard about it. I was going to download the app, but I didn't. I think Chris, I think I'm trying to remember what he goes by now, but he's the one that was testing all these different social audio app with Keith also. And they were like giving us reports and stuff. And again, it's like how many platform can we be on? For now, for myself personally, I'm more focused on my website. I just want everything to come to my website. I want so I build all these. I mean, I even built Brent a website too underneath my website. So there's there's a website within a website.
I'll have to say Twitter Spaces has been pretty amazing, because February last February of last year, I think that's when I first met Tanya in an NFT space, or or in the DM, and then followed her to NFT spaces and NFT music radio, and they're all about NFT. And now Tanya has an amazing show, NFT for a Cause, and I help her find some of the guests for it.
That's great, Brent. Yes, Twitter Spaces has been. I still love Twitter Spaces. That I think Twitter Spaces will always be my home base. The thing that I like about Wisdom is that you can have really heart-to-heart conversations there. There's only you as the host, and then one other person can have microphone access. And you as a host, you don't have control other than if somebody asks to come up, you can bring them up to talk with you, but you can't ask people to come up other than saying, I'm open to having somebody come up and chat with me. And then you set a timer. And once the timer runs out, the guest is booted back off into the audience. They lose their microphone automatically when that timer runs out. So there's some things that you have to get used to, but Wisdom does give you the option to download your um, chat, and it is high quality recording, so you don't have to do your own recording. You don't have to edit it, other than if you want to take content out or fix it that way. So you can some people are using Wisdom to record their podcasts because it is podcast quality recording. Um, so it's just when you explore different options, you just have to be open to learning the nuances and figuring out whether it's what you want to do or not. I did go on Wisdom for a brief time a few months ago, and I was like, after being on Twitter Spaces, it just seems so quiet, because I'm used to these boisterous discussions on Twitter Spaces. But when I was invited back as a mentor, then I went back, and I'm being intentional about what I'm doing there. So Brent was just in my wisdom talk with Christy Nicholson. Every week we do a talk for people who are parents of individuals with special needs. And we're just sharing our stories. We're not um, claiming authority at all. We are just we're there to encourage other parents and to say, we understand you're not alone. This is what worked for us. It might work for you, but it might not work for you. So we don't give medical advice or anything like that. We're just sharing our stories. And then I also do, um, so Graciela suggested that maybe I do kind of like a highlight of my Twitter space on Fridays. So I do my Twitter space on Wednesdays, and then on Fridays on Wisdom, I do a highlight. So I'll pick one topic that my guest discussed, and I'll come up with a question. So one of the first questions I discussed was, would you sell everything that you own and move across the world with your family? Um, so we do that on Fridays. And then Friday eve, I was on with Alessandra doing an interview one day, and I was asked if I would start a writers group on wisdom. And I'm in my mind, I'm going, a group on wisdom? How's that going to work? Because you're only talking with one person at a time. But I came up with a plan to make it more of an accountability group and to talk about different themes to do with writing and publishing and marketing. And so I'm doing that every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern on Wisdom. I've only done it for a couple of weeks, so we'll see how that goes. But that's what I'm using Wisdom for right now.
So is it mobile only? Because I think I downloaded my phone, but can you do it from the desktop?
It's mobile only at this point.
You know, it's so weird. Like I have literally live stream. The only thing I've ever live streamed has always been my computer, my desktop. So when I used to live stream, and then I would have an AT&T Wi-Fi stick, and I just, wherever I am, I have my big gigantic Getty microphone. I'll be just right there. And it over the years, and no one had mobile. I mean, really, like even there was an app called Bamboozer, and I started using that, and from that I was able to go into Facebook. That was like beginning of 2010. But now, just looking at all the different research, I think this key too. We were talking about this, like, what happened to desktop? What happened to desktop? It got bypassed. I mean, I love the phone aspect, but sometimes it's nice to have just do a desktop desktop, especially you have good microphone and you can just sit there and talk and you can do a little bit more. I don't know. I think when you get what you want, then you want what you got before. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being finicky, but I don't understand why like now everyone does mobile and everybody does iOS first. It used to be iOS was last and Android was first. So it's so different how things have changed. That's why I was wondering if is Wisdom on desktop yet?
Yeah, no, it's not on desktop. I know that Jason of Bunsen and Beaker, he live streams on Wisdom, so you can chat with him and see how that he does that. I think he uses Bluetooth with his Rodecaster, so because he does multi-stream as well. And I think he had last I heard he was live streaming Twitter Spaces, LinkedIn Live, Clubhouse, and Wisdom all at the same time.
Yeah, I actually have a task cam, and Keith's like, "You want to come on and talk about your task cam?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I said, I go in like a lion, I get all excited, and then I go out like a sheep. And so I have this wonderful task cam and great microphone, great everything, great computer, and actually need to update it. But and I was like, now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna force myself to update my LinkedIn account that I opened back in 2007 that I never really put anything. So it's like a shell. And then, so it's kind of funny because like I'm starting to get the Twitter Spaces hosts, and I'm looking at everybody. I'm like, oh my God, you guys got all your history on here. I haven't done anything. You're lucky. I finally put a header picture. And even though I actually have classes for LinkedIn, I have this lady who's like the link. I mean, she's huge now, but we used to have her come in and teach us LinkedIn classes, and she would still ask me, it's like, when are you going to actually update your like do something with your LinkedIn? And now because of LinkedIn, I'm allowed to, because of what's it, StreamYard, you can live stream into LinkedIn now without having a whole bunch of people following you. I guess a bunch of connection. You can like everybody can get it. So I'm gonna try that next to try to get that done. But I wanted to go ahead and I see if Lynn wanted to grab the mic. It's 7:59. I kind of like started talking all about live streaming and wisdom, and I'm so glad you mentioned it because like I said, I've been hearing about it. I read about it. I was going to jump on it. And, I have so many apps on my phone right now for all the different social audio that I got an account for that I never did anything with. So I just was afraid to start something and then not be as, true to it. That's I am with Twitter Spaces. I guess I think because Twitter, we've been on Twitter for so long, we're so used to it, and it's kind of cool now. Twitter's starting to show me the people that I saw a friend of mine that we've known each other since like forever, and he did not even know he moved to Berkeley. And I think he's probably teaching there. But we were on Twitter. We were Twitter friends since 2008, and didn't kind of like forgot about him, and then like just randomly run into people because I guess the algorithm, once you're just connecting with people, you see each other's algorithm. Like I'm gonna be seeing a lot of yours because curate a whole bunch of your stuff onto the space. So now I'm going to see more of your stuff, which is great because I just and again, Ruth, I am like in awe with you because I did not know about your 5 kids, about being a caregiver, and you know that just wow me. I mean, that part I didn't know about. That's so. So I'm so glad that I was able to like got a chance to talk to you. I think because when we did our space together, when you were the host, when we did the How to Build Your Global Communities in 2022 using Twitter, we never really got a chance to get to know who you were. Like everyone did their bio, but I don't think we did your bio, right?
Yeah, that seems to be the way. And it was interesting that you bring that point up because I was talking to somebody about podcasting the other day, and I was asking him for tips about what I should do to grow my podcast. Interesting stat I heard the other day is that 90% of people who start podcasting don't last the first year. So I don't want to be in that stat. And I was asking him what I needed to do to continue to grow my podcast. And he basically said, you need to, yes, it's good that you're bringing guests on, but you need to feature yourself and you need to feature the what you have to offer so that people are following you and asking to work with you. So that's something that I'm being more intentional about now. Lynn, I see you have the microphone. Did you have something that you wanted to ask me or comment on?
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting to talk, but I'm just kind of absorbing everything. And the more I learn from what you're talking about, the more I realize I don't know. um, it's like it's massive, all the different things you can jump onto. But it's also, I like Ruth's comment about you only have so much time, and getting on everything is not necessarily, um, and I'm paraphrasing, a great thing for you to do because, you know, you have only so much time in your life and you can drive yourself crazy trying to be all these different places. So, um, finding the one that works for you, I guess, is the most important um, ones. And I like Twitter because I like the spaces a lot. And I don't like Facebook. It just seems like an angry place to me. So I don't really go on there anymore. Um, and I wanted to mention to Ruth that, and to you, Tanya, thank you for following me. I appreciate that. And
Oh,
Ruth,
thanks for following me. I was thrilled. I was like, yeah, heck yeah.
and Ruth, I also like what you said about people are learning as they're going. You know, and I am very much in that category. I'm kind of just like getting my feet wet and finding my voice and trying to figure out because I want to do things to make other people happy. Um, and that's really what I want to do, whether, I have to explore in all the avenues I want to do that in, because especially in the United States, like I know you're in Canada now, and I'm actually in Michigan. um, we're all very angry, and there's so much turmoil, and there's so much unhappiness. And I went through a really difficult time in 2020, not with just the pandemic issue, but my mother died at the same time. And I had to go to her in New Hampshire for a month and take care of everything. And it was just so much at once. And I really, you know, um, I don't want to talk all about me, but I went through this happiness course and all this stuff, and it really helped me. It really helped me, and I want to help others, and I want to grow um, my Twitter space and listening to both, all of you. You've done all that hard work, and it's really nice to be able to come on the space and listen to it and get ideas on how. So I'm not starting from ground zero. Or if I can learn from you. You have a lot to teach, and I appreciate that. And I wanted to say that.
I wanted to say that Tanya has an amazing space on Monday morning where she features a bunch of amazing woman guests every Monday. So Tanya Tanya has followed you, so maybe that will be a space for Tanya to feature you there.
I also want to feature Ruth actually too. So yeah, Lynn, yeah, every Monday we're on our 33rd episode. And today's guest, Suki, who I've met like in 2008. It was the weirdest thing. We met in 2008. We follow each other, and I watched her have babies and like quit her job, being a speaker, podcast. But like, I watched her on social media. We just kind of like it's interesting how you get the opportunity to see the person that you met only one time, became friends with them on Facebook, and then you follow each other on LinkedIn. She has all this connection, except, and I am like I barely even build my LinkedIn, but I DM her, and she did a show with me today, and we were like, it was just so fascinating. I just wanted to do it just like I wanted to hear her talk, because I never, you can hear someone do a podcast, but just to sit and talk to somebody that you only know you met them once. She gave me an idea, and she was like, she took her podcast and took different segment of it and made them into an audiobook. And actually she did a whole writing thing where she got together and she published her first book where she got 14 that she was 13 ladies and herself. 14 of them did a like a retreat together, and for a whole weekend they wrote a book. Each one wrote something themselves, and they published it, and like did really incredible, she said. So she gave us a great idea. So that I just been like, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. I'm gonna do that. So and again, women communication has been around since 1909. We're known as the suffragette. I mean, it's all about women empowerment, and I look at this being 21st century women in communication. What are we doing today? And social audio, and actually my national chapter, um they're starting to get into social audio, because really, to be honest with you, we're ahead of our time. A lot of people are not really into social audio. People are into podcasts, but to actually sit and talk to different people from all over the world, and having like the social audio, just having a conversation, and getting to know each other, and then meeting each other again, and so because of that, we're gonna probably end up, after the end of the year, we're gonna put all of them together, pick up the best segment, and make them into an audiobook and feature that. And then we're gonna submit it to our national, because every year they have like a contest for different awards. So we want to be able to do that. So I'd love for you ladies to be part of it. Jennifer, I think she was the second or the third or the fourth guest on our Empower Yourself Monday, and it is just a 60-minute segment, just talking about what empower you, the ups, the downs. We've heard so many different stories. We have filmmakers, bloggers, everybody that's done in the communication, because back when women communication was founded, I mean, it was 1909. Women wasn't even allowed to drive, vote, and do anything really. These 7 women who were going to University of Washington got together and founded like the second women newspaper, and I think they got together so they can drink wine. That's right, I read somewhere. But these women went on, and then we became a national chapter. And then in the 80s, we accepted men into it. Eleanor Roosevelt's one of us. Barbara Walters one of us. And Curry. I was there. We honored her on a centennial. So there's some really empowered women that's part of our group. And every time I meet any women that just have gone through the ups and downs and empowerment, I feel it's so important to share to the world.
So before I close the space, Ruth, any final thoughts, and where can people find you if they want to contact you for writing tips and creator tips?
Well, thanks, Brent, for hosting me today and for the amazing questions that you came up with. I would be happy to interact with anybody. You can DM me on Twitter, or you can connect with me through my website, ruthlsnyder.com. And I would be happy to just anything to do with writing, publishing, or marketing your book. I do offer a 30-minute strategy session for free, so that's available to anyone. And I look forward to getting to know all of you a little better. It's been great to converse a little bit with you, Lynn. And Tanya, I love that we have been able to get to know each other a little better today too, as well. And I would be more than happy to be on your Monday space sometime.
I really enjoyed having you, Ruth, and learning about you. And I think that coming unprepared with the questions and going off the cuff with the questions, I think I did an amazing job as the person conducting the interview without preparing those questions.
You did an amazing job. Thank you.
As someone who's watched Brent grow, you have come a long way, Brent.
And as always, I appreciate Tanya for being in the space, for co-hosting, live streaming, and building my website, and watching my blogging journey and journalism journey as I have a press pass in Canada.
Good for you, Brent. I don't have a press pass.
And next thing, I'm waiting to hear about going to San Diego, and I'm super excited if I get to go, because that will be really inspiring for me to go to Radfest and blog about it because Tanya, it's Tanya. Tanya knows all about Radfest and how amazing it is, and I help and I support Tanya by going to her church in return for her co-hosting for me.
And I appreciate you, Brent. And again, I like I said, you never know who you might meet. You never know when just for the moment you listen to someone's story and you didn't even know. And like I say, Ruth, I did not know anything about you in that sense until when I was just reading your bio, and then I was just checking out all your stuff. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And I just remember, all I remember about us meeting was that Keith was like, oh, you have to come on to her. Like, Keith just gets, and there's this DM, and he'll just DM you. And you'd be like, okay, let me go ahead and answer him. And then he'll just start showing me stuff. And, I love learning. So I'm so glad we got to know each other. I look forward to more collaborations. I sent both of you at the Calendly. So just pick a date, and then we distribute it out. We run ads on our YouTube, and we're women in communication. So, and I feel like everyone is a communicator, and especially now in this 21st century, especially it's so important to communicate correctly. Sometimes you can communicate.
My favorite Monday morning space, because there's always a breathing exercise read by Terry Michael, which is Tanya's VP of Women in Communication South Florida chapter, and Terry Michael is amazing at it.
Yeah, that's how we start our week. So again, thank you so much. And what my final thought is, it's been a very inspirational interview, and this is your episode 3. I can't wait to know more about your episode 4. And Ruth, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to our collaboration.
We will be blogging and blogging after this space and promoting this with snippets, and the YouTube, the replay will be available forever on Twitter, but also the replay will be available on Tanya's YouTube channel, Social Chats, with my very own playlist.
Yeah, which is already there. It's already
with hundreds of views on some of the YouTubes, because Tanya runs ads on them for me, and I appreciate her.
No, you mean thousands of views, Brent. He gets more views than I do. It's like, he'll get like 3,000, 5,000. I'll be like, wow. He gets a lot of views, though. I love it. I'm so happy for him.
It sounds like you're a great team. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, everybody.